YouTube, it's your butcher back again with another video. And yeah, today this is part two of my uh, the teams that had 60 wins and didn't make it to the finals. Now, in my last video, I had a couple teams that you probably already knew that didn't make it to the finals because of certain circumstances or is something they could control, but they ultimately didn't get the job done. See, this is part two of that, so let's go ahead and get into it. So my first team on this list is the 2016-2017 Spurs. Now, this is the year that Kawhi Leonard took a leap, Tim Duncan retired. They asked Marcus Aldridge to take a lesser role to try, compliment Kawhi instead of him being the lead guy and Kawhi complimenting him. They asked him to do that. It was like a struggle at the beginning because Marcus Aldridge said he came here to be the guy. Like, why are you asking me to change my role in the offense? So he had a problem with that. They had back and forth, but they ultimately came together and they had a 60-win team. They won 61 games this year. Yeah, and they was like one of the few teams that just gave the Warriors with KD trouble. So they was on a collision course. So yeah, the Spurs they ended up getting to the playoffs. Um, they beat the Grizzlies. They just got them. Well, I can't say got them out the way because it's a hard fought series. Both teams just slugging it out on defense. And what can you expect from a Grizzlies team? They always gonna give you their best effort on defense. Um, so yeah, that series ended in 6. Kawhi Leonard had a dominant series. Man, Kawhi Leonard during this time, bro. He was must see TV, dog. Like I think I can remember most of the games this year. I remember he hit a game winner against the Rockets, and he also got a block in that same sequence. I remember he had a good game at the Madison Square Garden. I remember he had, let me see, that game against the Cavs when the Cavs was at home and Kawhi Leonard he took over the game. He was looking like the best player on the floor when LeBron and Kyrie was playing. It was a bunch must see TV. I just remember watching his highlights because he used to be my favorite player. I came from over guys like LeBron, AD. I think AD and Kawhi was back and forth with me for my favorite. So yeah, and they ended up playing the Golden State Warriors and they was dominating the Warriors. Like nobody expected that. They were dominating the Warriors. But ultimately, Kawhi Leonard, we all know the play. Zaza Pachulia just stepped under him and he ended up turning his ankle or something. I guess that led to a knee and quad issue. And it's still probably affecting him to this day. So yeah, the Golden State Warriors. I'm not saying they lucked out because it was only one game, and we don't know how the rest of the series is gonna go. But they could have gave this that Warriors team trouble because they won a game without Kawhi. Just imagine what they could have done with Kawhi. Especially they have somebody that can guard KD because this was Kawhi Leonard peak at defense. He won DPOY the year prior. And he could win again, but they had to give it to Draymond because folks feel like Draymond got cheated out 2015-16, which is blasphemous to me. So, yeah. The next team we're going to talk about is the 2009-2010 Cavs. Now, this Cavs team it had different, circumstances around them compared to the 08-09 team. And here's why. So, going into the season, this was LeBron James last year on his deal. During the season, folks was campaigning to try to get LeBron James on their roster because he was the biggest free agent and probably in a long, long time. I think, let me see, if I'm correct, this probably up on the level of 1995 MJ when MJ was a free agent. He almost went to New York, but the Bulls ended up coming up on their offer and he re-signed with the Bulls. So just imagine that. It was just on the same level. New York won LeBron, and yeah, it was just a bunch of teams that wanted LeBron services. And who wouldn't, right? So yeah, this team, they won 66 games like the year prior. They won 61 games, I believe, and their defense took a little step back, but it was still top 10 in the league. Their offense was still top 10 in the league. They tried to get free agents. They tried to get guys like Jameson and Shaq. They got him, but it was just like, really? And the kick the frustrating part about this is they could trade what JJ Hickson, I believe that's his name, for Amari Stoudemire during this time, but they didn't want to pull the trigger because they just believe in JJ Hickson potential. Well, all right, so yeah, we go into the season 160 games. They top 10 in both offense and defense. LeBron James had to carry a big load as usual. So we go into the playoffs. The Cavs take care of the Bulls. I remember that dunk. I think LeBron had that pink sleeve and he dunked it on James Johnson. That I don't know why I remember this so like vividly. I don't know. That was a great dunk by him. So yeah, they got the Bulls out the way. So they have to face the team that got them up out of there in 07, 08. The Boston Celtics. Yeah, the Boston Celtics took care of business once again. LeBron James, he had a bunch of high turnover rate games. His field goal percentage was bad this series around, and they said he had to get sedated before like couple like the game, like the elimination games and stuff like that. I don't know what was all that weird stuff about. I guess you know the rumors about you know the rumors. So yeah, that that was definitely a disappointment. This 260 teams, like the Spurs and the LeBron Cavs, 261 teams, back to back years didn't get it done. That's unfortunate. So yeah, we going from them and we gonna talk about the 2012-2013 Thunder. The 2012-2013 Thunder was an explosive unit that was one of the best offenses in the 2010s. I think they was like number 1 or 2 during this time. Yeah, KD, he had MVP like season, but nobody was beating down 2013 LeBron. Like that's peak LeBron. Nobody not touching. I think everybody just decided to give the MVP to LeBron. Just here you go. But yeah, and Russell Westbrook, he also had like I wouldn't say MVP. Well, yeah, you can say MVP caliber season, even though he was like at the bottom half of the MVP, but at least he was considered. Ibaka, he was top 3 in Defensive Player of the Year vote. I believe he was 2. No. He was 3 because it was Marc Gasol, LeBron, and Ibaka. So just imagine if LeBron could have MVP and DPOY in the same season. Boy, the conversation around LeBron James would be so different, and I don't think, like for example, they try to use that MJ argument. Oh, he won MVP, DPOY the same season. Jordan cleared him with defense, all that crazy stuff. Just imagine if LeBron got the DPOY. God, like I don't think. Jesus, the only argument they probably would have had was the 6 rings. That's it, probably. So yeah, we go into the 2012-2013 Thunder season. Like I said, they had top 3 DPOI candidate. They had top 3 MVP candidate. They still had the same roster, but they did not retain James Harden. So they ended up not paying James Harden because first off, he did not show up in the finals whatsoever. They also had to pay a guy like Serge Ibaka, so they had to choose between those two. And they feel like, and I believe James Harden felt like he needed a fresh start anyway to, prove that he's a superstar caliber player. So they ended up trading him before the season. So yeah, they won. The Thunder ended up still winning 60 games, even with that roster behind them. So yeah, we go into the playoffs. They meet the Rockets. They meet the old friend James Harden in the first round of the playoffs. But we all know what happened. That man Pat Bev decides to just go crazy, try to play through a whistle, okay, I guess, and ram through Russell Westbrook's knee for no reason. No reason at all. He just decided to ram through his knee because he just pointed through the whistle. Okay, whatever. So yeah, that happens. They still end up beating the Rockets because the Rockets wasn't ready to compete yet. So they beat them. Then they have to face the Grizzlies. And once they face the Grizzlies, yeah, they just wasn't like the team already was relying on KD and Russ to be at elite levels almost every game. Just imagine you take Russ away and KD by himself, who had to average 28 and 10, I believe, on like 40, like 43% from the field, something like that, 35% for three. That was good enough in my opinion. But the team was just so like mid around KD, like they couldn't get it done against the Grizzlies. So the Grizzlies ended up beating them and they went to conference finals. Okay, so we're going to probably our final team on this list. And probably I also have an honorable mention. I'm going to mention them too. We're going to talk about the 2004, or no, the 2005 Suns and the 2007 Suns. Now, the reason why I included both of them in the same list at the same time, because they both have the same parallel uh, outcome. Like they both lost to the Spurs. But before I get to it, let's go ahead and talk about the 0405 Suns. So coming into the season, um, their outlook was looking pretty bleak after what had transpired. Like they was a 20-win team. Remember that. So we go into the season, the off season. The Suns get Steve Nash from the Dallas Mavericks. Dallas Mavericks. They sold on Steve Nash for no reason. Should have just paid the man. You had the best offensive duo during that time. Could have won a championship, but then because you wanted to be stubborn, okay, he goes to the Suns. He becomes an MVP. He becomes an MVP and let the Suns tell what I think that was the 66 win team. Yeah, I think that was the 66 win team. Mike D'Antoni was the coach. They basically like revolutionized offense. Like that was crazy. Both the '05 Suns and the '07 Suns was top 5 of the 2000s offense. So that's crazy, and probably top 5 all time if we actually probably top 10 all time. That's how crazy Steve Nash was as an offensive unit. So yeah, we go into the playoffs, the 04-05 season. Well, they ended up beating the Spurs. They wasn't ready for the Spurs, and they got 4-1. But Steve Nash, he had a great series. He averaged 20 and 10. And Mari Stoudemire, though, Jesus Christ, this man had a elite series, and this is the series most folks talk about when they bring up Amari Stoudemire being a playoff riser. He gave Tim Duncan that work. He averaged 30. What did he? I think he averaged like 30 some a game, 35 a game. That man, Amari Stoudemire was on a mission. Him and Steve tried to get that series, but the Spurs was just coach better, and they had better defense to sustain in the playoffs since the Suns really didn't play defense around this time. And we go to the '07 Suns. Now, this is the year most folks said they got cheated in. This Suns team, they won 61 games. This is the year coming after Amari Stoudemire basically missed the whole entire season with injury. So this is his first year back. He came back with the force. Steve Nash. And what's crazy about this, I understand I'm a Kobe fan. I think Kobe should have won the MVP in 05-06. But either way, it still went to Steve Nash. And what's crazy about this, Steve Nash put up another MVP caliber season in 06-07. And just imagine if Steve Nash could have won 3 straight MVPs. Bro, we'd definitely be talking about him more as a top 10 point guard of all time. No question about it. Because he had been the first 3 straight MVP since Larry Bird. It don't get no better than that. So yeah, we go into the 06-07 season. They won 61 games. They beat the Lakers again in the first round. I forgot who the second round point was. No. Actually, yes I do. It was the Spurs. They faced the Spurs again, but this time around, the Suns were ready for the Spurs, and they was giving them a lot to handle. So in the series, they was going back and forth. Then all of a sudden, Robert Ory just for no reason just clocked Steve Nash, just bumped him right into the scores table. Um, it was a fight that broke out, but two players from the bench, and I can't remember the second one, but one of them was Amari Stoudemire. And you know the NBA rules. Ever since the Malice in the Palace, you cannot leave your bench in no situation. So Amari Stoudemire ended up getting suspended, and yeah, they lost the game, and they had to play the Spurs for an elimination game, and the Spurs ended up winning and closing out the series. So yeah, that was just a tough break for the Suns. They didn't get it done both years against the same team. So yeah, and this final team I'm finna talk about, bro. And this is probably one of the most saddest 60-win teams on this list, and that is the 2014-2015 Hawks. Now, the reason why I say this is the saddest 60-win team on this list because first off, they had they was number one seed, no question about it. 60 wins. They had Mike Budenholzer as the coach. They had a great offensive system that best utilized the starting lineup. Okay, so out of the starting lineup, they had four that make the All Star team. Jeff T, Cal Korver, Paul Millsap, Al Horford, and out of four of those, out of the four, two of those did not deserve it. I think Kyle Korver was like a replacement, if I believe, and I think both of them was replacements. I could be wrong in that, but dog, they made the All Star team. So we're going to the playoffs. They take care of business in the first two rounds, and then they have to meet the boogeyman. They have to meet LeBron James. And guess what? They could easily beat this team. The Cavs, they didn't have Kevin Love. His shoulder got pulled out of socket by Kelly Olynyk for no reason. I don't know what was his problem. Then they had hampered Kyrie Irving, who was missing games in the playoffs in the Chicago Bulls series. He had like knee tendonitis, ankle foot problems and stuff like that. He was going through it. So this was a good opportunity for the Hawks to beat the Cavs and go to the finals. And guess what they did? This team is like downright the fakest 60-win team of all time. How do you get swept and use a 60-win team? You have more cohesion because LeBron and David Blatt, who was the coach at the time, did not see eye to eye whatsoever. Y'all have more cohesion. Y'all have a better offensive system that best utilize y'all talent. I understand y'all didn't really have no no type of real shot career but Jeff Teague. But dude, getting swept. Are you kidding? Yo, bro, I'm getting mad just talking about them, bro. Like that was sad, and I know Atlanta fans already been through it. They had to go through it with the Falcons. They had to go through it with this team, and then they had to go through it with the Braves. I believe that's their baseball team name. Jeez. But yeah, that's all I got, dog. Let me know if you guys like this video. Like, comment, subscribe, and I may have a part 3. Never know. I might. I don't know. We'll see. I'm probably going to have to do more research. So, yeah, if you guys like this video, like, comment, subscribe. This is your boy, Terrell. I'm out.